Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speeder, and today we're going to be looking at Whisper's Brewmaster. This is a 14-minute game between LGD and EG. You heard that right, a 14-minute game. I'm sure a lot of you guys tuned into this match, and it was insane. However, the main staple of the early game tempo was definitely Whisper. He ended a 14-minute game 11-0, and what's really cool about Whisper's gameplay is that he's pretty consistent with the item build that he chooses. He has done this in multiple games in a row now. He doesn't go boots, he rushes Urn, and then after Urn, completely upgrades it to Spirit Vessel immediately, right? Immediately, before even going boots, right? He upgrades the vessel and then goes boots. After boots, he's working towards an Ags. The game ends before that, but I find it really interesting that he skips boots. So let's talk about how he plays the lane with a pretty weak laner, right? All right, before we get into the main part of the video, I do want to let you guys know that I'm not only posting videos here on YouTube, I also frequently post videos on the website. If you don't know what I'm talking about, almost every single day I'm posting a new video to the Game League website. We're going to teach you guys in depth about how to get to the next level. So if you want to become absolutely broken and really take your game to the next level, I'm going to be able to help you, because sometimes the guides on YouTube, there's either not enough of them, they're not specific, or they're just tier lists, which I know you guys love, but at the end of the day, the Game League website is going to help you get to the next level. So click the link down below and sign up. So one thing I will say about Brewmaster is you do not want to play this hero into the really bad 5 matchups. So a couple of heroes that I think do very well against Brew in lane are Enchantress, Undying, Pugna. The very high pressure position 5s I really do think make this hero look quite bad. And so I only see EG pick this hero, at least from what I've seen, pick it into the weaker 5s. In this game, he picks it into Wyvern. You could be looking for heroes like Wyvern or Ancient Apparition. These are 2 5s I would look to pick Brewmaster into for 2 reasons. Number 1, the laning stage is good, right? That's certainly a key thing. And number 2 is the fact that in the mid game, Brewmaster is one of the strongest heroes in the game, and that's when he wants to take over the game. And these other supports, these like Wyverns and these AAs, they kind of hate getting run at in the mid game, so they hate the style of hero that Brew is. They tend to hate the unit heroes. Not really Wyvern as much, but Wyvern is very much not good against Brew. It seems like it might be, but it's just not. You can micro around it, you can bully the guy. Wyvern's too slow of a hero, and so you can do well and bully these heroes in the mid game, and that's the key to Brew. In the laning stage, you're going to skill your Q almost always at level 1. It's not a great spell at 90 mana for, it's a nuke and a slow. That's all it really is. It does slow attack speed, which makes it not terrible, right? You definitely want to get the value out of it, and I don't recommend using this ability for last hits. Maybe you can use it for the range creep, but I actually think Brewmaster specifically is picked best with heroes like Pugna and Mirana, heroes that can secure the range creep easy, because you don't want to have to do it as a low armor hero, and a hero that has to commit like a pretty big spell to do it, right? So it's much nicer if you can have a hero like Mirana or Pugna do it. From there, Brewmaster actually does threaten these weaker 5s really hard. Like, he can kill heroes like Silencer and Wyvern and AA, even heroes like Crystal Maiden sometimes, pretty easily because of the fact that Cinder Brew, it slows by 24% for 5 seconds, and Thunderclap slows by 25% for 4 seconds. So if you stack them on top of each other, basically what happens is that heroes get dropped to a measly 145 attack speed, approximately. Wyvern's a pretty slow hero, but you get dropped all the way down to such a low attack speed. And so this is such a perfect Brew lane, because often in a lot of lanes, they would countercast nukes or stuns to fight back here. But honestly, this is one of the weakest lanes in Dota. I do want to really clarify that, guys. I don't want you to pick Brew in your games against Terrorblade and Undying and say, Speed, I have no idea why I'm feeding. It's your fault, Game Leap sucks, and so on and so on. They have no attack speed slow, their movement speed slows are underwhelming. It's a bad lane, and so you can get aggressive with Brew only in these lanes. For the most part, you're going to be pulling a ton of creep aggro onto the range creeps, and then looking to kind of run away with the creep wave to a large extent, right? You don't really want to play up very much. You want to avoid damage as much as you can. So in terms of the skill build, I think on Brewmaster you actually can go 1-1-1. And in the games where you want to go 1-1-1 is games where you actually need to play defensive. Because if you're not going to be using Cinder Brew offensively, you can actually use this ability on yourself to cover yourself in Cinder Brew or in the Brew. And then that is going to triple the effects of your Drunken Brawler, right? Whether or not you want armor and magic resist, movement speed and evasion, critical chance, or status resistance, you can triple those bonuses. And so in those lanes, right, maybe you're against something like Terrorblade, it's actually good to have the value point, because then let's say the guy clicks Metamorphosis, right? you can turn on, for instance, your Storm Brawler and give yourself 15% movement speed and 45% evasion. And that's going to actually allow you to, evade those timings, things like Tombstone, these like major committal spells. It's really good against those types of lanes. So that's something to keep in mind. However, this lane, easier lane, just going to take the second point in Cinderbrew and go from there, right? Just more nuke damage. If you don't understand how Cinderbrew works, basically you put this ability on someone and then it slows them. It will always slow them, but it will not do damage unless you cast another spell on them. That can be any spell in the game, literally any spell in the game. It can be a teammate spell or your spell, and then that will proc the Cinderbrew and that will cause it to deal damage, which is why it's kind of a weird ability, but yeah, you can see it slows a ton. This hero, it slows a ton. The problem is often you slow people, but you can't actually man up. And so that's why Brew isn't picked that much, at least as far as I'm concerned. However, in this lane, he can chase them down, and you'll see it allows him to actually pick up a kill on Wyvern there, as it's very easy to chase people down when you're in a state of advantage. Now, the real selling point of Brewmaster as a hero is Primal Split at level 6. This is one of the best spells in Dota, and it was recently buffed to give you a 4th panda, the Void Bruling. This Void Bruling allows you to pull people into areas, and that's pretty nice, but for the most part, you just use your ulti to do damage. Like, you're gonna do a mini stun and then every other panda just kind of auto attacks. If you're trying to optimize the micro, what you really need to do to optimize the micro, for the most part, is stun them with the Hurl Boulder, which is gonna stun them for 1.6 seconds. It's actually pretty long, and do 50 damage. And then the Storm Panda, you wanna click Wind Walk. It's very important because the Wind Walk is going to do 140 bonus damage, and that's only on a 5-second cooldown, right? So it's very important that you get out multiple Wind Walks during the usage of the ulti, and multiple Hurl Boulders, as that's also only a 5-second cooldown. On top of that, something to keep in mind is the Dispel is pretty key. Like, for instance, Sidekick is dispellable, so if he was really playing optimally here, he would have dispelled right away to get rid of her Sidekick and prevent any sort of lifesteal. I mean, it's not a big deal, this Marcy's dead no matter what, regardless of the Sidekick, but it is something to keep in mind. You can perch Empower, right, from Magnus, you can perch Bloodlust from Ogre Magi, you can perch, DD runes, haste runes, whatever it is, right? There's so many things dispellable in Dota, and so that is something to keep in mind with the Storm Panda. So the reason why Urn is so good is it procs Cinderbrew, and that allows you to instantly close the gap and get your damage going, right? So that's what he's going to do in this clip here. He hits level 6, drops the Cinderbrew in the Urn, that's going to get the damage ticking, then he Thunderclaps, pops the ulti, and with honestly not a lot of micro, he's going to throw the Wyvern up in the air. That was nice, that was clean, right? Throws the Wyvern in the air, who wasn't really doing anything, but throws the Wyvern in the air, going to chuck another Hurl Boulder, that's the second one, use the Windwalk Panda again, that's the second Windwalk, and so yeah, as many boulders as you can, as many Windwalks as you can, and then they're going to take the tower. From there, Whisper makes this cool play, which is after this top push, he knows he's weak a bit, but he sees a lot of safe lane farm, and it's cool because the TA is dodging this Timber Saw on the level 6 timing, which makes sense, but they bring in most of the EG heroes, which is a really awesome play here because they're able to, I couldn't believe they killed this guy. Like, it was actually crazy to me that he died. And he was genuinely crazy to me because this is a Vanguard Timber, but Brewmaster and these two supports do so much damage to Timber. It actually makes it look like a horrible Timber game with the Decrep and Nether Ward and Nether Blast and Arcane Curse reapplying and Cinderbrew and the Thunderclap. It's pretty impressive. And now with this item build, you have a great game for the Spirit Vessel, right? It's good against Timber, it's good against Marcy's Sidekick, it's good against Wyvern Heal. You have 3 things it's good against, but most importantly, you have the Timber, and look, they can poke the hell out of this guy, and this is what he does. Right? Even when he knows he can't kill them, he will use the first of 2 charges. He had 3 here, but he'll typically use the first of 2 charges just to poke people out, right? Like, it does so much damage just to casually cast a few nukes on some guy, right? So the Brew is just half HP from this few set of nukes, and that allows him to take him out, right? He's going to Vessel up the Brew. No, I'm sorry. He probably should have Vesseled the Brew there, actually. Oh, he died anyway. Wow. Arcane Curse is so good against Timber Saw. But yeah, he's able to take out the Wyvern there. Does unfortunately have to TP out, but makes it out alive. From there, in almost every game, you want some sort of mana neutral item. That can be the Occult Bracelet, that can be Arcane Ring. Tumbler's Toy is probably the best though, as it's going to give you not only a mana pool, but the ability to actually get in range for Cinderbrew. As honestly, one of the downsides of Brewmaster is the cast range of Cinderbrew is kind of crap. Like, it's quite short. Like, look at the radius. You see it here, guys? It's really quite bad. And so the Tumbler's Toy, as we see here, actually allows him to chase this Wyvern right? And the only reason he catches up, at least originally, is due to the Tumbler's Toy. And from there, it's honestly a game of playing high tempo, and this is how you want to play Brew as well. If you're going to pick this hero, don't try to farm side lanes that much. If you're going to go this Vessel build, the whole idea is to play fast around the Vessel and the Cinder Brew. So immediately after this bottom play, he runs bottom. They're going to pick up a kill on the Wyvern. After they pick up that kill, it's onto the Spirit Breaker mid. And there's almost no cooldown on the W, so you can just go from target to target to target. Right, this ability is only an 11-second cooldown, and with the Spirit Vessel being a 7-second cooldown, they synergize quite well together in that regard, and you can spam them together. Right, then only and only if you get close enough are you going to thunderclap yourself. Either way, another mid dive here. I mean, at this point, they've lost 3 lanes, and this is where Brewmaster actually looks like one of the best Dota heroes in the game, because the ability to play high tempo with Brew is honestly better than almost any other offlaner. Like, diving towers with Brewmaster is like a good play because he can tank the tower for a little bit, right? As you see here, drops the Vessel on Spirit Breaker, kind of forces out the Wyvern E, then switches targets onto the Spirit Breaker, takes him out, is going to lift up the Timber Saw, shift back his attention to the Wyvern, take him out, so much damage, right? With the use of the lift, he's able to take the Timber out of the fight again, and then shifts back into his normal form. And so it's just a situation of over and over and over again being able to dive towers. And I will say I love this draft from EG because they also have Silencer to back him up, high nuke hero, and then they also have Pugna Storm, one of the best dive comps in the game. All right, so there's a lot of synergy between their heroes, and I do think that's a big part of Brew looking good here too. And yeah, from here, no one can honestly fight this Brewmaster because you'll see against this clip here on Shiro, one Cinder Brew plus an Arcane Curse is just most of this guy's health. Completely slowed up. I mean, Brew's slows with Cinder Brew from a distance are very, very significant, as we see in that clip there. Extremely easy to chase down the Marcy. Then another Cinder Brew comes out onto the Wyvern, and this game is an absolute wrap. I mean, there is no play for LGD. They cannot take a tier 1 tower. They cannot go near any of the EG heroes without just feeding to Storm Spirit. And so this game actually does end up getting called. But hopefully you guys can kind of see the factors that will allow Brewmaster to be a good hero in your pubs from time to time. It does require a decent amount of mechanical skill as the game progresses, as if you want to get really good at this hero, you have to learn how to toggle between the different Drunken Brawlers, right? You want to use the Fire one when farming, you want to use the Wind one when you're running away from someone. There's a lot of different applications to this third ability, especially in conjunction with the Cinder Brew, because once again, the Cinder Brew triples all of the effects. And so yeah, this hero definitely is hard in that regard. You also have to know who and how to lift in the late game team fights. But yeah, I just want to make this video on playing high tempo. I think it's also really cool that they changed up the lanes. I think they understood that LGD wanted to try to take this bottom tier 1 tower, right, with the Timber Saw. But once the Timber Saw got shut down due to the high magic damage of the Urn plus Cinder Brew and then eventually the Vessel, he couldn't really make much of a play. And so Brewmaster, a hero that typically isn't that great against Timber, looks like one of the hardest Timber counters. And on top of that, if this Timber did ever end up having a good game and bought Aghanim Scepter, you can actually dispel Timber's Aghanim Scepter with the Brewmaster. So a lot of application to this hero this game. It also purges Flame Guard and Marcy, like it also purges Bulldoze. This was one of the greatest possible Brewmaster games you could ask for. Good lane, good dispels, good tempo, good teammates to dive with. You know, you need a stun with your mid laner. Typically, you want an Ember or Void Spirit or Storm when you're playing Brew. So, just perfect Brew game. Love the draft. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
And that's all. But remember, before you leave, come on, before you tune out, subscribe to the Game Leap website where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below. And I'm out. Peace.